Detox show. And my co host today, and beautiful co host, I should say, is
Thank you.
Dr. Marlene Siegel. And Dr. Marlene Siegel is, I would like to think, and I know a lot of other people, and I mean a lot of other people, also believe that, you know what? She's probably one of the most well balanced veterinarian practitioners in North America, meaning that she understands the emotions of your pet and she understands the physical needs of your pet. And understand something, whether you want to believe it or not, your pets are emotional. They feel your emotion and they pick up on your emotion and they get sick when you get sick. They get happy when you get happy. And Marlene Siegel, Dr. Marlene Siegel, does not just teach about pets on a physical level, but she teaches about that on an emotional level. Because whether you want to believe it or not, they're beings and we're beings. And guess what? They have emotion and they feel things. Okay. That's why they call dogs man's best friend. Okay. So today's topic is called What Really Goes Into Your Pet's Food. And you know what? About the same thing that goes into our food when it's made by any type of corporation. Let me tell you something. When a corporation makes your food, okay, they have no heart, they have no blood supply, they have no feelings, and they will dump anything that they can get in there that is toxic and be able to cut costs and understand something. And you know what? That government that protects you, well, they're not there to protect you and they're not there to protect your pets either. So we really do need to know what really goes into our pet food and our food. And guess what? I bet you today when we talk to Dr. Marlene Siegel that the same chemicals and toxins that are going into our food are going into your pet's food, except they're just dumping in more of it because they can get away with it. But before we start, I would like everyone to know that you can watch our shows at docofdetoxshow.com, YouTube, or Facebook, like what's happening right now. And if you want to, and you want to watch our show, you can put it on any language you want on YouTube, okay? And you can actually slow it down, all right? And remember something, pass the word around. I mean, come on. Look at the information you're going to get, especially when it comes to pets. I don't think there's another show like this, and there's definitely not another person like Dr. Marlene Siegel. And I would like to just say, hello, Dr. Marlene Siegel. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Wolf. I'm doing great. I've missed you. I love doing shows with Abby, but we've missed you.
Well, do you see how long it took you to miss me? It took a while. So that's why I just wanted to really make sure that you really felt the pangs of missing me. So now I'm back. There you go.
Very good.
So before we go any further, because we haven't talked in probably 2 months, have we?
Yeah,
You
it's been
know,
a while.
so I need to know, where's the food? Did you get your new pet food done? Did you get the new pet nutrition done that you've been working on for so long?
Yes, and we're going to launch it publicly on your show, on our show. Yes,
No, wait a minute. It's your show.
it's our show.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I want you because I know that there's new people watching the show today because I
Okay.
know the show's been growing, and there'll be new people that'll be coming on because this show stays up on YouTube, Facebook, and Doc of Detox. So I need you to tell people. I know we've got things we want to talk about here today, but I want to make sure before anybody goes anywhere, I want them to understand why you created what you created in the way of pet food and nutrition, and I want you to tell the name of the product, how they can get it, okay, and exactly, how they can get it in dosages or servings, not dosages, but the serving sizes
Mhm.
and just things of that nature. And anybody out there that if you have questions, feel free to call. Just call on in, and we'll answer those questions for you. And the number is 855.
888-570-9445.
There it is. That's what it is. Okay. So why don't you just take it away?
So let's start with why did I do it? And it's a wonderful thing. I was actually speaking with Casey Krejci this morning, who is the developer of a part of this diet. And he said, there's three types of people. There are those that are imitators, And those are the people who follow the pack. They know that pets have to eat and there's a lot of pet foods out there. And so they just create something that's like everybody else. And
Right.
then he said they're idiots out there who just really don't know what they're doing and they just throw something together. And then the last category are the innovators. And I would say that's where I fall, is that I took what everybody else was doing and I couldn't find one single company who was doing it right all the way through. So you certainly don't want processed foods. We know we want to do raw, but it has to be raw that's balanced. It has to be raw that's species appropriate. It has to be raw that is healthy, no GMOs, no fillers, no synthetic ingredients. And there wasn't a single company that I could come across that
Hmm.
had every single element in there, including the super nutrition and the ability to cater to the individual need.
Okay, can
So,
I cut in for
yes,
1 second? I
sure.
know you're on a roll, but I want everybody to know this. What are the things they need to look out for that you think are healthy, but you know the smooth talk that we all get,
Hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
know, yeah. Anyways, I won't go into that part, but there's a lot of smooth talk where we can try to take a half truth and then sell it. So I
Yeah.
want to know, what do people need to watch out for, because I need them to first understand, you know what? First we want to find out, we can take a look at what's wrong with our life, and then we're only
Okay.
going to focus on what's good. So I want you to show what's wrong with the pet food out there, and
Okay.
then I want to show why they're going to buy yours. They might even pay a little bit more money, but now they're not going to have to sit there and watch their dog have tumors, or their cat have tumors, or lose its eyesight, or have autoimmune disease, which we know that pets have autoimmune disease worse than humans, which is beyond
Yeah.
me how it could be when humans 8 out of 10 have an autoimmune disease. So we know that pets must be right up in the 90s, which is just not good. Okay?
Okay.
Oh, before we do that though, we have a caller. Okay. So we'll take the caller, and then I want to hear what I need to look out for, because you know what? It's great that, we've got somebody like you that's going to take a stand for the pets, but I want people to understand something. When they think that they're cutting corners, they're cutting time and happiness and joy off their pet's life, which is doing it to their own. Okay?
In
Let's
years. Yeah.
let's take this call. Caller?
Dr. Darrell and Marlene Casey Krejci.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Can you cut that caller off, please?
No, no. We want to keep Casey on the
Okay,
line.
fine, fine. Okay, we'll do it. Hi, Casey.
How are you, brother?
Hey, listen, man. Nice to hear from you, and nice to see that, you know what, that you're not just creating some of the best nutrition for humans, but now you went and did it for the pets too. Now I'm really starting to like you. How's that?
Well, I'm ahead of you because I already liked you, so it's all good.
Okay, all right. So,
All right, so let's get to the question, and then because Casey's going to come in and talk about the pet fuel that he developed for this product. So, what are the problems? Well, we know that when we're feeding any kind of processed foods, it's been heated above 105 degrees, which is going to kill all the enzymes that were originally in that food. And animals like us need enzymes to actually break our food down. We don't just magically take our food, eat it, and then somehow it ends up as part of our body. It has to be broken down, kind of like taking the Lego house and taking it apart piece by piece. And that's what enzymes do. So when you're feeding your pet processed foods, those are foods that are heated above 105 degrees, and then they're either put in a kibble or they're put into a can. They are what we call enzymatically dead food. So that we know is going to be bad. The second problem with processed foods, especially kibbles, is that they have to put that kibble together with something, and they'll always use a carbohydrate. In the olden days, it was grains. Now people are going, oh, we should be feeding grain free. That's only half the equation. Grain free is not carbohydrate free. So animals should be eating a diet that has about 1% or less carbohydrates. If people were to calculate the amount of carbohydrates in the food that they're feeding their pet, they would find that most of them are between 40 and 60% carbohydrates, which equals to sugar. And we know sugar feeds cancer, so that's definitely one of the major inflammatory processes that we see in animals are these high sugar diets. The third problem with a kibble diet in particular is that it's devoid of moisture. These animals were designed to get 70% of their water intake, especially cats, from their diet. So when you're feeding a dry food, you're taking 70% of their moisture away. So it's not a surprise that a lot of the diseases we see in these animals relate around the kidneys, because they're always dehydrated and the kidneys have to filter a lot of those toxins, and now they don't have the dilution effect. So those are the three major things. And then if you're feeding a non-organic diet, if the food is coming from a feedlot, if it doesn't say organic, grass-fed, or free range, then you're adding in genetically modified ingredients, hormones, chemicals, pesticides, all of these things that are so damaging to the gut lining, so damaging to the microflora, and of course they contribute to the inflammation that ultimately leads to the dis-ease that we end up seeing.
So
So that's
all of these products undermine the good bacteria within the animal, and we know that in the animal, in a dog or a cat, or in the core, which is basically their abdomen, that's where 85% of their energy is. So when you're wondering why your pet's energy is just declining so fast, the sugar is just frying out everything, correct? And the refined
absolutely.
carbs and all the other little additives and chemicals that they're sneaking in there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we know that is a problem with all of our processed foods. Now we go into the raw food industry, because there's a lot of companies now that are coming out with raw diets. But you have to be able to confirm that the ingredients in that diet, are natural. We don't want to be taking synthetic materials into the body, because the body really doesn't know how to respond to that. It may do nothing. It may lead to inflammation. It may just not really take you where you need to go in the realms of nutrition, because these
Marlene, if I can
vitamins,
ask one question, how
sure.
strict are the regulations? Can they get away with saying natural and then actually put in synthetic ingredients and fillers and things of that nature? Like how far has the government gone, or some regulatory body, that I know that if I read something on a box or on a can or do something, how do I know what's what? Because, the rules aren't really defined, are they? Or are they defined?
They're not defined very well. And
Okay.
in the pet food industry, it started over 100 years ago, and a organization was developed called AFCO. And AFCO is actually run by the big box companies. And they're the ones who are supposed to be regulating what is going into pet food that makes it complete and balanced. But they allow synthetic materials, they allow toxins in there, they allow preservatives in there. So it really isn't doing the job that we as pet owners and as conscious people, we know what good nutrition is. It's just like on the human side. You can go to the store and 80% of the stuff that's in the grocery store is toxic to you. So we have to really become more aware that AFCO standards really aren't the albeit that it's supposed to be.
Can
And
I
again,
say, can I
it's a
cut in?
fox watching the hen house.
Yeah, can I cut in one more time, because I just like to
Sure.
say this. I wrote a booklet called Medical Mafia, and it's the whole story of the FDA and how they were supposed to regulate health, and
Mhm.
they started the same time as AFCO did. So I actually think it was, the person who had the same idea for the FDA, for not for the FDA, but for the AMA, had the same idea for AFCO. So, it was just another branch of dispensing, I think, chemicals and pharmaceuticals, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So what I decided to do was, I didn't want to follow APCO standards because they weren't sufficient.
right.
That's why we're seeing cancer rates at 1 out of 2 dogs, and or 1 out of 1.65 dogs. It's almost 50. It's almost 100% of dogs getting cancer, and cats are 1 out of 3. And I really think those numbers are higher because they're not just being reported enough. So with that being said, APCO standards are certainly making our food worse for the animals. So I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. So what I did is I separated what are called macronutrients and micronutrients. Now, when I sell my food, I cannot and do not want to label it as complete and balanced, because I sell the macronutrients, which are the meat, the fat, the bones, and the organ meat. Those are called macronutrients. That's where our protein and fat comes from.
Right.
And then I worked with Casey Krejci, who, in my opinion, is the leading person in human nutrition for having a product out there that's all natural for people and gives them nutrition. You could live on the stuff if you didn't want to chew something crunchy, right? So it was super nutrition for people. And I asked him if he would develop me a product that we could use for animals.
Beautiful.
And so when his dog got sick, and he graced me with letting me treat her. He lives in Orlando and I'm in Tampa, so it was an hour and a half ride. And it was a cute story. If Casey doesn't mind me telling it, his dog got sick and he went to take it to their veterinarian in Orlando, and the vet was going to force them to give it a flu shot.
Right.
And he wouldn't do that, and the vet fired him. So he called me and asked if I would see her, and I did. And so that's how our relationship really solidified. And his dog had cancer and also had heart disease. So we really needed super nutrition for her. And he went home literally that night and made me pet fuel for dogs. So the one thing I just want to be clear is that his human product, the sweetener he uses is xylitol, and that could be toxic in higher levels to animals. So we don't want people who are taking living fuel to feed that to their pets, because a lot of times we take a lot of our supplements, and there are other supplements that Casey has that we do use on our pets. We use his aminos, we use the fatty acids. We do absolutely love those products, but we don't want to use anything with xylitol for the pet. So that's why he made me a separate product that is called RX Pet Fuel.
So basically, you created a pet food that is compassionate and conscious pet food.
And it's super nutrition.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
provides everything that they need in the way of their micronutrients. So I provide the macronutrients in the meat portion. Casey's diet portion creates all of the micronutrients plus more, because he's going to talk about all the additional things that he put in there that create the super nutrition with the antioxidants and the anti-inflammatories, etc. And then we add the fatty acids. On a lot of our cases, we add aminos, which are all from Casey's line. And with that, we add our probiotic, which I like to use a fermented product. I don't like to use the probiotics that come out of a can, because most people stick with one line, and then now you're flooding the body with the same probiotics, the same strains of bacteria all the time. And there are now studies showing that inhibits the other flora from developing. We're supposed to have trillions of guys playing down in our gut. And when you're only flooding them with a very limited number, you don't have an opportunity for the natural floras to be able to develop and flourish. So
Yeah.
I like to use fermented foods.
The minority bacteria have to go and find new homes, right? There you go.
There you go. So that's what we ended up doing.
let me,
And I want people to really understand the importance of these micronutrients.
Go ahead,
They
Casey. Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll back up just a touch, because I think it's important. Is that, I'm CEO of Living Fuel, and we literally have been the leader in superfood nutrition for 17 years now. We're coming up on 17 years in 2 months. Okay, and I fed my dog a mixture of kibble and a little bit of meat and several eggs, and then our omegas. And then we mixed our own living fuel on top of it. Now, it is true that high levels of sugar alcohols are not good for dogs, but the level you give to a dog is like a quarter of a gram, okay? So it isn't hurt any dog whatsoever. That's not really the point, okay? The point is that I, as a leader in nutrition, human nutrition, would feed my dog GMO meats, GMO eggs. We used to buy a huge thing of eggs. We would have like these really expensive organic eggs. And we're feeding the cheapest eggs we could find. And it never crossed my mind that I'm feeding a dog, okay, like I wouldn't feed a human. Okay, I do not believe in GMOs. You guys know me. I mean, we're talking about a level of nutrition that doesn't exist outside of what we make. So the thing about sprinkling living fuel on the dog's food, the dogs loved it, but we have to look at, okay, I wanted to go through and look at living fuel. We had another product which we never released, and we always talked about doing a pet product. But the product that I started looking at, I said, okay, let's look at living fuel and the levels of living fuel that are optimal for a full-grown human. And then look at every nutrient in there and say, you know what? we don't need to add protein at any high levels because protein is coming from raw diet because raw diet is obviously best for a dog. Okay,
Mhm.
so we don't need to add protein. We don't need the significant amounts of fiber we're feeding the humans, although fiber is important to add to the puzzle if you're going to do a home recipe for dogs. So what I did is look at we have something called, and I wrote about it in 2011, or no, I'm sorry, in 2000. I wrote about it in my last book, the Super Health Diet, Chapter 11, Protein and Amino Acid Metabolism, and I wrote about the importance of these various nutrients for human health. And so we looked at it, and I talked to Marlene about a lot of this stuff. I looked at the literature and looked at, hey, dogs, I mean, cats need taurine, dogs don't need taurine, but taurine is still good for dogs. So we can make a formula that really works for mammals, and we're making sure the taurine's going in the animals. We have probiotics. We have all of the essential vitamins, all of the essential minerals in the optimal ratios. And then we basically applied pediatric dosing to a full-grown human to arrive at what the optimal dog dosing is. Now, Marlene, you might speak to some of your live blood cell analysis of with and without on dogs even eating kibble.
Oh, absolutely. We, when Casey first developed the product, we did a few studies where we had people coming in that were feeding processed foods, and then we would feed them the pet fuel, not changing anything else. And then we would check them 3 days later, and we saw very gnarly, low, sticky cells when we started. And then literally in 3 days of adding just pet fuel, not changing anything else, we saw cell separation and we had beautiful cells. Now, we still want to make that better. We don't want to encourage people to still feed a toxic food and think that pet fuel is going to fix it all. You know, it certainly added a level of nutrition that was out of this world.
Well,
it was superfood for these pets.
It's the same with the humans. You know, if you're not going to change your diet, it's going to buffer down a lot of the inflammation. But the problem is it's not going to give you that vitality that you're looking for. Like, don't expect to actually truly completely reverse a chronic illness with your pet if you're going to feed your pet toxic food and then use Casey's formula. You know, you might get lucky with that, but you know, it's called whole body healing, not partial body healing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So don't feed them this GMO food and like you talked about, Marlene, spray Roundup on your weeds and then send your dog out back and expect the dog to be fine.
Absolutely. So we really, really have to take ownership of what we're doing. And for me, it was a difference of animals that are surviving versus animals that are thriving. So for those pet owners, and it is most of the people that we deal with that really want their animals to live the healthiest, longest, most thriving, vibrant life, you have to do the same things you're going to do for yourself. And I so honor Casey for being so authentic. I remember his face when we talked about, I was taking the history and I asked, what are you feeding your pet? And that moment of truth, like, really settled in. And he literally made that comment. He said, I'm the leader in super nutrition for humans. And it never occurred to me. So he immediately went back and made this diet, and her tumors were shrinking within weeks. It was amazing to watch. But of course, we changed her diet. We did all the other elements and all the other therapies along with that. So what we have now created is something that doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. And I'm really, really honored and proud to be a part in partnering with Casey in bringing this to the pet world. And my intention is not to go, nanny poo poo to all the other products. My intention is to say, here, this is now the new benchmark. This is where we need nutrition to be. And I want everybody to start following that. I want people to get away from the synthetics. I want these companies to start realizing that people are not only wanting it, they're demanding it. And the only way that it's really going to change in the big pet food industry is that people have to stop buying it.
Well, also, if I can say something, and this is everybody out there, you're all robots and you have been programmed to poison your dog, to poison your cat. So, you know what? I know that the brain is 90% the subconscious mind. So whatever your prominent beliefs are, you're going to stick with. But what you need to do is maybe you need to watch this show 1,000 times so that you can erase and replace. Because guess what? We don't need to keep on learning through suffering, and that's what human beings do. And we don't need to learn through creating suffering for our dog until the point of no return or the point of dis-ease. I mean, you need to get there right now. You think that if you pay like a little bit more money for this beautiful food that they've put together in this nutritional, whole food nutritional plan, you're paying a little bit of money. Well, wait till you see your vet bills. And guess what? Every time that your pet is suffering, trust me, you don't realize it, but you are going into a sympathetic state, creating more acidity and more sickness for yourself. So, it's a domino effect. And what I want everyone to get here is that you need to flip switch right now. And then feed your pet and get on board with feeding your pet the best food possible. And then take a look at your pet on how your pet smiles. Yes, they do smile. Take a look how it wants to play with you and love you. Take a look at what's really going on. I mean, we have to wake up to this. It's called conditioning. I know you can do this. You can break away from the herd and stop sending your pets to the butchers. Okay? Just think about it. Go
Absolutely.
Ahead. That's good
and,
stuff.
Go ahead, Casey.
We've included in here, spirulina, chlorella, dulse, kelp, maki berry, and so many other things, specific enzyme formulation that's ideal for dogs. We've included the dietary nucleotide. Now, you don't see that in human products, okay? Dietary nucleotide is an immune enhancement, a very significant one, okay? And so plus we have all the right ratios because, dogs too run on the sodium-potassium pump. Their heart works by that, and every cell in the body uses that tension between sodium and potassium that only exists if you have it in the right ratio. If you have it upside down, it doesn't work, and you have compromised. Every system in the body is compromised. So we have these probiotics, enzymes, I mean, you name it, and it is really absurd. It's so good, Marlene. I've had it every day this week myself.
So I ask a question.
We take our own stuff.
I'm going to ask you a question. Why do you think it's so difficult for this this whole industry to find integrity? Is beyond me. You know what? Everybody can still make great money, and we don't have to have all this suffering. So what we need to understand is that behind all of this is when dogs get sick, they take drugs too, like people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me address a couple of things because Casey brought up a great point. When we talk about the macronutrients, I created 2 formulas of raw food. One is an 85-15 blend, which most of the diets, you can't find out what the ratio of meat to fat is. But in our, what we call our healthy pet formula, it's an 85-15 blend, meaning 85% of the protein and bone and 15% fat. And then we created a more keto diet for the animals that have seizures, cancer, obese animals, diabetics. And that way we can put them into a keto state easier so that we can now address some of their already established inflammatory diseases. With Casey making the pet fuel separately, we can accommodate these animals' nutritional needs based on body weight and based on the status of their health or lack thereof. So look at the beauty of that model. We can literally cater a diet to that animal's specific needs. When you're buying food, when everything is lumped together, you're feeding a small dog a smaller amount, a big dog's eating a bigger amount, but you really don't know what the nutrients that are getting in. Not only that, but the way Casey put this formula together, the animal can take it on its own. Let's say we have a dog or cat that's not eating. They can take that fuel, mix it with some water and syringe it in, and they're absorbing those nutrients without having to digest them out of the food. That is beyond amazing and beyond necessary. One of the things that we know from glyphosate is that it actually inhibits the ability to uptake your micronutrients. So with the pet fuel, it's going right into the bloodstream. getting
Every
absorbed.
pet
They don't have to
hospital
digest
should
it.
have
We
this
know
on
that
hand.
nutrition is going where it needs to go.
Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, every pet hospital should have this on hand, because by the time you combine our pet fuel with our super essentials aminos and super essentials omegas, you can put that in a syringe or in a feeding tube and fuel that pet optimally while it's recovering, or while it's sick, or while it can't eat, or whatever the case may be, and bring them back to health in a pretty extraordinary way. So, like Marlene said, this is designed to go into the system without digestion. It's literally being delivered in as much of a. I mean, it's got the enzymes in it to digest the things that are in it, and the things are in forms that are usable like right out of the chutes. I wanted to point something else out too. In humans and in pets, there are 4 underlying factors to most every disease, including cancer. It's inflammation, oxidation, glycation, and angiogenesis. These 4 things, these 4 underlying pillars, if you can regulate those 4 things, then theoretically the disease cannot progress. And
Casey,
so
one
what we've
second.
done
Casey,
in, yeah,
Casey, can we back up for a second? Can you please just take the time to explain every one of those conditions? Some people may not have heard of them before. Please. Thank you.
oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So inflammation, everyone's heard of inflammation. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the body is giving inflammatory messengers to the body, and so it's at the root of most diseases. Inflammation. Well, similarly, oxidation is when oxygen takes a lipid and destroys it. Okay. So you oxidize lipids, and that causes big problems in the body. That's why you take antioxidants. But it's not quite that simple. You can't just take a vitamin C, and like dogs make their own vitamin C, but more vitamin C is good in a stressed dog. But you can't just take vitamin C and expect to handle all of the oxidation going on in a dog or a human. Humans and dogs deal with 5 major classes of oxidants: peroxyl, hydroxyl, superoxide anom, peroxynitrite, and singlet oxygen. These are 5 different classes of oxygen radical species, all of which require a different antioxidant to quench. So you can't just take one antioxidant and think you're doing, or just throw a mix of them in there blindly and think you're going to handle all 5, because it doesn't work that way. We have, for 17 years, engineered the regulation of those 4 things in a nutrition for human nutrition, and this is human grade super nutrition for pets. That's what I'm telling you. I have been taking it for the last week, because it is human grade. You feed it to your dog. So the point is, you quench the inflammation with certain nutrients. That you quench 5 classes of oxidants with a blend of nutrients and polyphenols and natural compounds, and then you have glycation. Now, go ahead. Interestingly, glycation is similar to oxidation, except for glycation is when a sugar caramelizes a protein. Just like when you make caramelized onions in the frying pan, you essentially take sugar, and if you're feeding your dog carbohydrates, it has higher sugar, therefore more sugar in the system to glycate the proteins. And so when a human gets advanced age, like 60 or 70 years old, they literally can have 1/3 of their total proteins glycated. And so what we're doing is we're putting anti-glycans in the fuel, antioxidants in the fuel, anti-inflammatories in the fuel in terms of natural and clinical nutrition. And then the last of the ones is called angiogenesis. Now, we've all heard of angiogenesis in a way that if you twist your ankle, the body is going to form new blood vessels to bring blood and healing nutrients to that area and heal the tissue. The problem with angiogenesis is not when you're biting. Now, the female menstrual cycle in animals and in humans is basically the same thing. So when the monthly cycle happens, the body will literally produce new blood vessels to send to create new tissue and to nourish new tissue. That's the good angiogenesis. But the bad angiogenesis, when a cancer cell gets a cocoon and a blood supply, then it is very difficult to eradicate. Okay, so that process is angiogenesis. That the body's fed vessels to feed a cancer cell. The cancer cell grows and divides, and then you got trouble, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we know in nutrition that nutritional compounds that are in Pet Fuel RX are more potent, according to the literature, than the actual drugs being developed to block angiogenesis. See, angiogenic, there's a great TED talk by Dr. Lee on angiogenesis. Everyone should watch that, particularly you in health. It is fascinating, but he lists the nutrients in there, many of which are the foundation of pet fuel to help regulate that. So when you realize the complexity, this is not a, hey, Mr. Customer, see, we got vitamin A, and we got this tea tree, and we got this over here. See, we're great. No, this is an engineered masterpiece to not only deliver extraordinary health, because when you give the body, whether it's animal or human, when you give the body everything it needs, the body has miraculous ability to heal and to thrive. And that's the science and the concept behind Pet Fuel RX.
Absolutely. There's nothing on the planet in the form of nutrition when we put all the elements together, Casey's formulations, and the proper balance of the meats that are grass-fed out, that are humanely raised, so the meats don't have all the excess estrogens and stress levels and cortisols in them. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I think it's interesting that companies make excuses why they can't do that. And it's not. You don't make an excuse. You just create the right product and you put it out there.
Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, let me make a point about your food, Marlene. When you go raw, okay, now just going down to Publix and getting Greenwise and coming back and feeding to your dog doesn't accomplish what you've accomplished in the balance that you're putting forth, okay? And also, the meats are too lean that you get down to Publix. But the point I'm saying, even the Publix meats, or putting eggs or whatever you're feeding your dog that's raw, that cuts down on the carbohydrates dramatically. And keep in mind, when you have high carbohydrates, you have high insulin. When you have high carbohydrates, you have high inflammation. When you have high carbohydrates, you have high oxidation. When you have high carbohydrates, you have high glycation. And when you have high carbohydrates, you have high angiogenesis. So just switching to raw will really dramatically improve the health of the dog or the cat or whatever animal you're feeding. And so I think that's an interesting point about what you're doing there.
Thank you. So there's two things I want to make sure we get in before I forget. One is people asking about cats and taurine. Taurine is found in meats. The reason why years ago cats were dying of heart disease called cardiomyopathy, which was a taurine deficiency because cats cannot synthesize taurine like dogs can. But the reason they were dying of cardiomyopathy was not because they didn't have enough taurine. They didn't have any in their diet. They weren't being fed a meat-based diet. They were being fed some kind of gorgum thing. So people are misled by thinking that you have to add taurine into a diet. We do add taurine into the pet fuel, but taurine is also found in the meats that we're feeding. So it is a balanced diet for cats and dogs. And interestingly, dogs recently that were being fed these grain-free diets, we had a huge upsurgence of cardiomyopathy in dogs because even though they were supposed to be able to synthesize taurine, these diets that were these grain-fed diets, they don't know exactly why it's happening, but there was a link between the grain-fed diets and these dogs dying of cardiomyopathy. So I want to make the point that this is a balanced diet for cats and dogs. We don't see lions and tigers and bears eating different foods in the wild where there's a tag on the hiney of a deer that says, oh, I'm for cats only or I'm for dogs only. These animals ate the same kill. They ate the same meat that they killed, but they ate it fresh and they ate it in the state that they killed it in. And the babies, we've all been marketed that there has to be a puppy food and there has to be an adult food and there has to be an old food. Well, that's just marketing. That's putting more SKUs up on the shelf. These animals, these puppies and kittens, they ate what mommy killed and regurgitated for them. It was the same food. They just ate a little bit more of it. So I want to make sure that people understand that raw diets are already balanced for what nature provided these animals to eat. That's a huge, huge point. All right. Any questions on that?
No, but I'd like to ask.
The challenge I want to put out there is if you are so confident you are buying a pet supplement that you sprinkle on your food and you think that that is really superior, my challenge to you or to the company making it is to have that for breakfast for the next 7 days and see how you feel.
You're talking about if people are using other types of supplements?
Right. I'm saying animal supplements are not made with the same care as human supplements. The Pet Fuel RX is human grade super nutrition for pets, which I eat frequently. And I'm saying that if someone thinks that they are so confident what they're buying is the quote the best, my challenge to them is to have it for breakfast for the next 7 days.
Well,
I
you know
think
what?
you'll find you don't have the courage to eat it, and if you do, you're not going to feel well.
You know what, Casey? And I'll tell you, this is all going to change when cats and dogs can talk.
They're getting there. So there's one more point that I want to make for you guys and for our listeners. Not everybody is going to want to or afford to, or for whatever reason, be able to feed 100% raw. I get that. So what we have done is we've also created a pet food calculator where if somebody wants to contact me and say, hey, can I either make my own macronutrients, meaning the bones, the fat, the organ meat, and the muscle meat. If they want to make their own blend of macronutrients and add our pet fuel and the fatty acids and the aminos, we can help them to create that diet. Or maybe they want to do a mixture. Maybe they want to use some of our raw and they want to be able to supplement with some of the things that they can buy from the store. We're good with that. We just want to make sure that it is balanced nutritionally. That is the key, because if it isn't balanced, you can actually create more inflammation and more dis-ease in that poor animal's body, and they don't have the opportunity to tell you until they just get sick. People do not bring me sick animals and go, oh, let me just get a new one because this one's broke. It's not like taking a car and turning it in and getting another one. We love our pets. We're dedicated to our pets. No pet owner wants to hurt their pet on purpose. They just don't know better. I want to tell a really quick little story here. One of my patients had to go to a referral center. She got diagnosed with pancreatitis earlier in the week. And the referral center told the owner that the reason she got pancreatitis was because she was eating a raw diet. Now, we all know that's a misnomer. They're feeding diets that are genetically modified, that have high fructose corn syrup in their diets. And so, you know, the owners, bless their hearts, they don't know what to think when they're being told two different things. So we want to help people to learn the myth breakers, like what you said earlier in the show, Dr. Wolfe, is that we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know. And there are belief systems that have been put out there for many, many years on pet nutrition because these big box companies have taught us what they think is good nutrition. And we're just saying that there's a point in time now where that's not working for us anymore. We see disease too high that we have to attribute it, whether it's to the food, the sugars, the different toxins that are in there, whatever it is, the combination isn't working. So we don't want to put anybody else down. We just want to say, here is the benchmark. We're drawing the line in the sand and we're saying, this is where we need to start from and we need to move forward from there. Does that make sense?
Well, it absolutely does. You know, we everything is so loose right now. I mean, whether you're talking about a human being or you're talking about the pets, I mean, the bottom line is, you know, everybody's got their own belief and they'll talk the way they want. But guess what? You can't trust anybody out there. You can't trust a system. You can't trust a corporation. You give me a system that's been created by the government, and I'll tell you, you can't trust them. And if you do, then you haven't even woken up yet. So the reality is nobody out there is being your guard dog. You have to be the guard dog for yourself, okay? And if you're not going to investigate, then you're going to get yourself into big trouble. And the reality is that, you know, we've got two people on the show right now with total high integrity. You know what? They feel this way about their family and they're just trying to bring it to your family. That's it.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom
I
line.
know, when I go to Casey's house, I feel comfortable because I know that we're all eating clean food, we're drinking clean water, we all have the same mindset. And it's a really comfortable place to be around people that are like-minded. That's the whole truth about Cancer Family with you and with everybody else, is we all have that intention. And it's not just out there being the mouthpiece, it's walking the talk, it's living that lifestyle. And is it easier? No. But is it much more rewarding? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really about living in honor. And
Hmm.
I do want to say this, and sometimes people think I go a little off, but we have been programmed to hurt ourselves, and then we end up hurting our pets. And I think the most important thing you ever can do is just really observe how you're living yourself and how you're treating your pets. You know what I mean? Because you know what, your pets are usually the end product of how you actually treat yourself. I mean, some people will even treat their pets better, but you know, the reality is this is that, you know, we've all been given this body by the grace of God. And the thing is that you do deserve the best, and so do your pets. So don't let limiting beliefs stop you from giving yourself and your pets what you deserve. That's really what it comes down to. You know what?
Yeah.
It's not so hard to love yourself and do the best for yourself and for your pets.
It really isn't that hard. For anybody who wants to go and I wrote an article about a year ago for a health magazine. It's on my website. If you go to pascovet.com, click on the articles tab, go find the article from Abby's that is titled Malnourished America. And I actually wrote the details and history of the pet food industry. So you can understand where it came from and how we got where we're at today. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it's not working for us anymore. And
No,
we
you
do have to take responsibility for our own health. There's nobody out there,
yeah.
like you said, that is going to be responsible for you or your pet but you.
And you might as well read this, because then you're going to find out that one and one, that's why they're equaling 11. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Casey?
Well, you guys are
I
doing
want
great
to
work.
go ahead.
Casey?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, my friend. It's your turn.
You guys are doing great work. You guys are doing great work out there, and nice to be associated with you. And we'll continue to change the world for pets now.
You know what? I think like Dr. Marlene Siegel said, you know what, Casey, it's teamwork, and it's always been about the team, right? It always has
Yes,
been.
sir.
Okay? Yeah.
I got to tell you, we're using that evil of Marlene meat for dogs, along with pet fuel and the omegas. And I got this. My dogs have the shiniest coat and the most energy of anything you can imagine. I mean, it's just like you can just see excellence in nutrition on these dogs. 3 of them.
And that's
Yeah.
because, and you know why, Casey? Because between you and Marlene, you've put something together that holds more light, okay, in the food and the nutrition. And when that goes in, that just they just light up. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, we walk our talk.
Yeah.
I know when I go to Casey's house, he has a counter in the mornings, and it's all the living fuel and aminos and the berries and everything's there. So you get up in the morning and you can make a shake. I love it because when I travel, I actually take my fuel with me. So I walk this talk. We take his products, he's taking our food and feeding it to the dogs. And we make that effort to really be the model of what does it look like to be that kind of health warrior for our animals, and we live it. So I really look forward to helping people start wherever you're at. It doesn't matter if the first thing you do is just add in the pet fuel and the omegas. That's a good start. And then maybe you'll start mixing in 50% raw until you get comfortable with that. And then you go 100%, or we help you to create a diet that works for you. But we can sell our food online anywhere in the United States. I know you guys were supposed to have the logo up. I don't see it. Is it up there? Omi?
Talking about us?
He was supposed to be putting that logo up there so people could see it.
It is there. The logo is there.
Okay, so I don't see it when I'm looking at you, Darrell, but if it's there, awesome. And so that's just kind of fun. The logo actually was a download for me. We were trying to come up with the name for the food for the longest time, and we were really struggling with it. And my creative team and marketing team, they kept putting names out there, and they go, "Hell, this is what the SEOs are looking for." And I'm going, "No, no, no, it wasn't it." And then just one day, I went back to a name that I actually had downloaded back from my corporations, and it was called Evolve. And we can pronounce it Evo Love, but it's actually Evolve, and the second O in there, we made it into an emoji. It's a heart with the little paw print on it, and it has sacred geometry all in that logo. There's 3 loves. I'll let everybody maybe in the show notes, they can post if they found all 3 loves, and then the helix also is part of the sacred geometry. So there's a triad.
Beautiful.
And there's 3 triads. Yeah.
So
and it was a gift from above.
Beautiful. I want everybody to think about something and understand something. I have no part of the business, but I am behind them 110% on this. I want you to just think about this and just give it a little bit of thought, okay? So we know that most dogs are very ill. We know that most cats are on their way to being there. So I need you to understand that if you don't want your pets to become a statistic, then don't do what the majority does. You need to look at the minority, okay? If you look at the majority of pets, they're sick. So, you better break away from the herd, and you better take a look and take a really good, and like I said, if at the beginning you believe it's, oh my gosh, I have to spend a little bit more money on my pet, you'll be surprised. We always think that when something costs more, we're not going to do it. But in the long run, it always costs us more in health. And then guess what? Isn't it sort of funny that when we have faith in that above and in ourself, everything always works out, and we always dramatize. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough time. Well, basically, the real problem is that you have dysfunctional beliefs that are stopping you from moving forward. So I want you to really think about it, and I want you to just understand something. Embrace things that are going to bring up the vibration of your health and your pet's health.
Beautifully put. We've also packaged our food in a way that makes it more affordable. But look, if you have a dog that's over 40 pounds, you get into your 80 and 120 pound dogs, it costs more to feed them. Even if you're feeding them garbage food, it costs more to feed them. So maybe be more conscientious of what your budget is and what kind of size dog you want to buy. So if you're going to have a pet, any dog under cat, especially under 40-pound dogs and cats, it's a no-brainer to feed them this. We're talking pennies in difference in cost. It does get more expensive when you're dealing with larger animals, but everything's more expensive. The medications that they take, the procedures that they have, all of that costs more when you start getting into the higher weight animals. So people who get an animal that is over 40 pounds, you get into these 80, 90, 110 pound dogs, you should be expecting to be paying more for their well care, and consider maybe don't buying a dog like that if they aren't in your budget.
And also, just remember something. Your dog is always going to be hungry, just like you, as long as you feed it empty food. If you're eating empty food, that's why you can't stop eating either, okay?
Yeah.
So I only have 1 meal a day. I mean, I drink a lot of different things throughout the day, but I only eat 1 meal a day. And anybody will tell you, I do not lack energy. I do not lack clarity. Okay. And with all my pets, I don't overfeed them. I feed them nutrition, which shuts off the hunger trigger. Okay. And the other thing is guess what? You can't build an immune system on empty calories. It's impossible. Nobody's ever done it before. And trust me, you're not going to win with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do they get the food?
I was just about to say that. We're going to go ahead and post the website for them to go online.
Okay.
Obviously, if they're going to live near me, they're going to get it from us. And we're getting ready to start a freeze-dried line. I actually bought a freeze-dry, a commercial freeze dryer. and we're going to start making our own freeze-dried line of that diet. Right now, our diet is a chicken beef blend, and we'll be expanding to other protein sources as this becomes launched and we get our freeze-dried line going and some freeze-dried treats. But right now, the link to that I will give to you guys, which you can post in the show notes for anybody that is in the United States. I don't know if we ship to Canada. I'll have to find out.
Well, we'll know by the
Well,
next
if
show,
you
won't we?
the pet fuel will be available in 2 weeks, and Marlene will be offering it too. So if you're going to be buying her food, you might as well get it from her. But also at livingfuel.com.
Yeah, they'll have the fuel, and what we're going to get a link to our food so that whoever's buying the fuel knows how to go ahead and add the macronutrients as well. And so we'll get all that posted for you.
Very
The
good.
link is live. We're just waiting for the pictures to go up and the descriptions of the products.
Beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Casey?
Well, I just want to say that humans and pets, most often because of their diets, are walking around in a state of dulled senses and feeling mediocre. And so when they get a hold of super nutrition, like it's really not. I mean, most products that call themselves super nutrition aren't even in the close to what super nutrition really is. But when they start realizing what superfood nutrition actually is and start eating in a way and eliminating some of the things that are causing problems, they feel so good. They think that they've had a miracle food, which in some cases, because of the state of humanity, it is a miracle food. But that's actually how you're designed to feel. And your pet is in the same situation. He doesn't have energy. He doesn't feel good, or she, whatever it is. And when you change to super nutrition, you'll start seeing a difference in your pet, because your pet will start realizing, wow, I feel really good. And so I always tell humans, hey, the last place to go to get in shape is the gym, because you want to first fix your metabolism so your energy is so high that you're going to want to go do something with it. And the same thing goes for your pet.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Casey.
Absolutely.
So if we can, and Casey, if there's anything else you'd like to add, we have a couple of callers. So I think we can only bring on one caller at a time, right? So
Well, that's fine. I'll sign off. I've done my piece. But bless you guys. Keep up the great work. And there's hope. Even if your animal seems really sick, there's hope, folks. God bless you.
God bless you,
Thank you,
Casey.
Casey.
And thank you for having the whereabouts to actually bring this to everybody. Okay, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Hey, look forward to chatting next.
All right,
Darrell.
take care, my friend.
Love you. Bye.
All right, so we've got a couple of callers. Let's see if they're still hanging in there. Hi, caller. Hello?
Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi.
Yeah, I was giving you a call. I have a beagle. She's going to be 15 years old, March 21st.
Congrats.
And she's been like really good pretty much the whole time until December 12th. She ended up having 3 seizures in 2.5 days. And I didn't know the cause of the seizures, and they really don't know what it was. I was already feeding her a well-known raw diet at the time, trying to do that to keep her healthier. So a holistic person thought maybe the raw diet caused her to have, like if I mishandled it or I got a bad batch or something, it caused her to have the seizures.
Are you asking the question?
Now she's on medicine now, and she hasn't had a seizure since. But now her kidney numbers were elevated.
So what was your question?
It went from 1.7 to 3.4, and so now I'm feeding her the kidney diet from the vet's office, because I don't know what to feed her, because they say when it gets that bad, you're supposed to do limited protein. But I am giving her the pet fuel.
Okay. So where are you getting the pet fuel from?
I live far away now, but I called your office and had it sent to me.
Okay. So is there a question behind that, or did you want me just to comment?
I guess comment, and then plus a question would be what food I should try to be giving her.
Okay, so there are many different causes of seizures, and in order to give you an adequate answer as to why is she having the seizures, you would have to really go through a medical workup and try to figure out what that is. And in many cases, we don't find an answer. We just call it epilepsy because we don't have a definitive answer. The question of, is it the food causing it? I don't know what food you were feeding, and all raw foods are not equal. If that was not a clean raw food, then it wouldn't be the raw food per se, but maybe if there was, if the meat wasn't organic or grass fed, then you're feeding genetically modified organisms. That's going to lead to inflammation. So does that make sense? We don't know exactly what the underlying cause of the seizure is, but I would say feeding a quality-based raw diet like what we've put together is in absolutely no way going to cause the seizure. And in fact, one of the most common recommendations for eliminating seizures and controlling them, even in people, is to feed a more ketogenic diet. So I created two different diets for that reason. I have my keto blend, which is a higher fat diet to get these animals burning ketones instead of burning sugar. And we were able to control almost all of our seizure patients like that.
Yeah, and I understand that. Now my concern is with her kidney levels being elevated. They say you're supposed to limit protein, so that's where I'm really confused.
No, the question there is that the body needs quality protein. It's not, when you feed a less bioavailable protein, then it's harder for the body to get rid of it. When you feed a higher quality biological protein, then the body's able to break it down, utilize it, and excrete less toxins or byproducts. So it really is, it's a misleading way. The reason why they say limited protein is because the quality of the proteins that have been notoriously used in processed foods is horrible. And they weren't meat proteins. They were not meat proteins. I'll just leave it at that. And so now when you're feeding a high quality protein, we add digestive enzymes to that. We find that our kidney patients do way better because they're actually able to use the protein and have less byproduct to excrete than when they're eating a less quality biological value protein.
Okay, because they were told, the vets, the typical vets, they I think limit the protein to like 4% or something.
And they really don't understand what they're doing. The body needs those proteins. We actually use Casey Krejci's aminos, and that way they're getting the protein, those amino acids that come from the protein, the building blocks. That's what your body uses to repair. So when you limit the amount of protein going in, you're literally limiting the building blocks of that animal being able to repair. So we want to make sure that they're getting those amino acids, and if they're compromised and they can't break it down and they can't absorb it, we're going to give it in a more bioavailable form, which is in the form of aminos. I also do bioenergetic testing. So we can tell as soon as we do the bioenergetic testing if that animal is deficient in aminos, if they're deficient in vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and we're able to supplement that so that the animal is actually getting the building blocks for what the body needs to do. That's what drives the body to be able to do the repair, regeneration, and restoration. If it's missing those elements, it can't do its job.
Okay, so for kidney patients, it's okay then to do the keto diet.
Absolutely.
Your raw keto food.
You need to know why is that animal having kidney problems and address the underlying cause. But always, no matter what the disease process is, you always want to address inflammation. So there wouldn't be one answer to that. I would look at the source of water. I would look at the source of other toxins going in. I would look at why did this animal go into a kidney problem to begin with? And then how can I supplement that animal's nutritional foundation so that that animal has all the building blocks that it can use to be able to repair, regenerate, and restore and maintain the highest quality of life possible with the least amount of waste product having to be filtered out.
Okay. And the way to find out the source would be to have you test the, whatever you said, the biogenic.
We do bioenergetic testing. We have a lot of other tests that we would run to find out as much as we could as to why is this animal doing abdominal ultrasound to find out if there's other underlying disease, what's the nutritional basis. There would be a lot of other questions that that's not a simple question. And I'm hoping I'm giving you enough information to realize that you want to find a really good functional medicine veterinarian to work with.
But if I'm not able to do, all that testing right now, I could just do the keto pet food, your keto pet food.
At least get that going. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Another caller.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, caller. We have another caller. How you doing, Dr. Marlene? You okay? Another caller?
I'm thrilled to take another caller.
Okay, here we go. All right, go ahead, caller.
Hey, Marlene, with respect to the taurine that you mentioned earlier in the myocardia or whatever you called that for the pet hearts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Cardiomyopathy.
Yeah. Do the same principles in how it helps the hearts of your dogs or cats? Does it do that for humans as well?
I don't speak to human nutrition, so I would simply say that eating a well-balanced, healthy diet with healthy fats, healthy meats would be the answer to almost anybody's problem, animal or human. But I don't go into human nutrition diagnosing whether or not there's a taurine deficiency and all that. So can you rephrase the question?
Well, I thought maybe you were onto something. I don't remember if it was you or someone else doing an interview with Dr. Steven Sinatra, but he's like really big on CoQ10 and L-carnitine and D-ribose and things like that. I'm just wondering if you don't know, it's fine.
Well,
and thank you.
My focus of attention is on the animal side, and so I would rather stick to answering that. Dr. Wolfe, would you want to take the human question?
What was your question again, caller?
He's asking about taurine
okay.
in human nutrition.
About what?
The effects of taurine in human nutrition on heart disease or cardiomyopathy in particular.
Well, I heard it's been effective, but there's other ways that I go. Okay, there's other things that are way more important as far as I'm concerned. Okay?
And just taurine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know. I think everybody looks for a silver bullet. And I think the same thing as Dr. Marlene Siegel is saying is it's called a whole plant-based, not for animals, but whole plant-based, proper nutritional diet. That's going to give you a happy, healthy heart. Okay.
Yeah. That really is the bottom line. It's feeding a species appropriate,
boom,
clean, balanced diet.
Yes.
That's your answer.
That really is. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Welcome to Band-Aid therapy for animals and for humans, because that's what even a lot of the natural health practitioners do. It's called Band-Aid, where we pull apart little pieces of our diet, and then we try to sell them off and show that. Did you know that every study that's ever been done in nutrition, okay, it came from the whole food? And then they break it away from there, and then they try to tell you that same thing is going to actually do the same thing on its own. It doesn't.
One element out of that food, yes.
So, you know what? It's like okay, everything's upside down and inside out, and we need to just look at nature, and the further we get away from her, and we have the scientific breakthrough or the nutritional breakthrough, most of it is not a nutritional breakthrough, okay? It's just somebody's breakthrough.
And to finish that is even a lot of integrated and holistic veterinarians are still treating symptoms, because when clients come in, they still are in the mindset that they're treating the symptom. And it's so hard for some of these people to understand that the symptom is the symptom and the underlying cause is what we want to address, which at the bottom of the table, it's inflammation. So no matter what else that we're looking at, wherever that inflammation hits, whether it's in the joints or it's in the muscle or it's in the autoimmune disease or it's in the GI tract, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is inflammation is causing it, and we have to look at what is causing the inflammation. And it's rarely one thing. It's almost always a lifestyle. And it's the combination of diet and water and toxins and EMF, the electromagnetic frequencies and pollutions that we're dealing with. It's the stress of our lives. It's the cortisol levels. It's everything, the lack of sleep, using devices late into the night, being sleep deprived, keeping your animals up. All of that is contributing to this dis-ease process that we're looking at. And then we see all these symptoms. So if I do nothing else, I want to help people to realize the symptom is simply the warning light on the dashboard of your car coming on and saying, there is a problem under the hood. You need to go find out what the problem is. And everybody's going to have a different symptom. It doesn't mean that their underlying cause is different. It's just how they express it is different.
Yeah, depending on the emotional experience, how the animal or the human processes the emotion, and depending on how they digest the food, and depending on, even to a certain degree, a little bit of genetics in there, you're going to find that the weak link can be in any part of the body. But it's all created by the same thing. We're an inflammation nation. And what I do and what Dr. Marlene Siegel does is it's all called, let's not manage pain. Let's eliminate pain by putting out the fire called inflammation that causes the actual crystallization, the scar tissue formation, the calcification, and the mutation within everyone.
Right.
Right.
Everybody wants to blame something. They want to blame the raw food. They want to blame the lack of nutrition. They want to blame lifestyle. And it really isn't about blame. It's about taking responsibility, looking at what's going on, and then just fixing it. It's not that hard. But you got to be responsible. You got to be willing to say, oh, maybe I've been spraying glyphosate on my lawn, and maybe I need to stop doing that instead of wondering why symptoms are showing up in my family and in my pets. So we all need to take responsibility. We need to be thoughtful about what we're doing to our bodies, what we're doing to our pets. It's not one pill for an ill. It's not one cure. It's not the CoQ10. It's not the turmeric. It's not the CBD.
No.
It's the lifestyle.
And
it's taking it all together, stopping the inflammation, stopping doing the things that are causing the problem, and making sure the body has all the things it needs to do to thrive. It's so simple.
So are you willing to become to look at your external environment and your internal environment and become a really gentle, loving investigator without judgment, and then getting rid of that which needs to go, and then bringing in that which needs to stay? Because guess what? If you don't like something going on in your pet or yourself, then guess what? You need a reality check. So you got to change parts of your personality, because it's us that feeds the pets and ourselves. So you got to change parts of your personality on things that you believe if you want to see a reality change on a physical or emotional level with your pet or yourself.
And it doesn't have to be all done day one.
No.
Make that column A of all the things that you should be doing and you're not. Make your column B of all the things that you shouldn't be doing, but you still are. And then just pick one thing off of each list and start making those changes. It may be that you start feeding your pet 50% of a more healthy diet. Maybe it's 100%. Whatever that is for you, meet yourself where you're at. Stop blaming, stop shaming, stop pointing fingers at the veterinarians who didn't know better. Veterinarians are the most loving and wonderful profession on the planet. 99.9% of every veterinarian does what they do because they have the heart to want to do good. And what's so sad is that the suicide rate in veterinarians is almost one of the highest of any industry. And part of it is because we are so caring and we are so compassionate. And when pet owners turn around and blame the veterinarian for the demise of their pets, when in actuality it wasn't the veterinarian that did it. It was the lifestyle that was taking that pet where it is. But we feel so deeply for our pets and so deeply for the pet parents, and it's really traumatizing to veterinarians who care so much to be blamed and shamed for other people's choices. So we really need to have pet owners just stop where you're at, just learn information. If it sounds reasonable to you, just start looking at your belief systems. Where did they come from? Did it come from how your parents fed your dog? Or maybe now you can look at that belief system and go, well, maybe things have changed. Maybe I can develop a different belief system. And here's the key. If it makes sense to you, then that's probably truth. And sense to me is what Dr. Wolfe just said. What does nature do? How does nature take care of its own? And when you look at how dogs in the wild eat, how bears and lions and tigers, they don't kill something and drag it to a kibble processor so they can have something stored for the wintertime. They don't do that. And they don't add chemicals and pesticides and preservatives to their food. And they eat the food in the state that they killed it in. And they eat basically when they're hungry. So it's typically dawn and dusk. And when they do eat, they eat all parts of the carcass. They get fiber from the hair as they're tearing through the carcass. They eat the intestinal tract as they're tearing through the abdomen, which gives them their rich probiotics. And every time they eat a different animal, they get a different flora into their mouth, which then they swallow and they inoculate their gut. Nature is amazing. It makes no mistakes. It has no wasted parts. It doesn't do anything that's frivolous. So if we really want to know, how was my animal designed to eat? Well, if they're a carnivore, look in the wild at how carnivores eat. National Geographic, you see it every day. And then model that as well as you can.
Sounds great. All right. So, Marlene.
Another amazing show.
That's right. Now, but before we close, do you have what our show is next month?
I don't have it in front of me. Sorry.
Okay, well, guess what, everybody? Either do I. So guess what? That's because we were so busy with this show. But, just go to docofdetoxshow.com and let everybody know about Dr. Marlene Siegel's show next month. It's 4 weeks from today, okay? That's when we're going to get back on here and play. And the other thing that I want you to understand is this, okay? It's not scary to feed your dogs right. So let's just take really gentle baby steps, otherwise taking a little bit of action every day so that we don't end up having a large reaction and freaking out when we go to pet our dog and there's this big lump called a tumor. Okay, so understand something. This is not to create fear in you. It's just that look at the statistics, okay? So I say if you're going to own a pet, please stop poisoning it. Okay? They are not maybe people, but they are what keep people healthy. They give us the love. They give us the unconditional love that we haven't learned how to perfect yet. Because you know what? That's the biggest thing that pets give us. Pets are just so important because we don't even know how to love ourselves, and they actually teach us how to do that. Okay?
Yeah, they do.
So you know what? They deserve, okay, to be treated properly. Okay? And I mean, they deserve to be treated properly for what they give you. Think about what you're giving them. Okay? And again, this is not about guilt. This is just, who do you love? Okay? All right.
And when you do that, you'll feel so good about yourself. It's going to influence how you eat, how you take care of your environment, because you're going to clean it up for your fur babies. And then everybody wins, including the planet, because you're using that much less toxicity. So,
right.
Yeah. And we're going to send the message to the big box stores that when people start not buying that stuff and start demanding a healthier product for themselves and for their pets, they're going to produce it. I mean, look at all the different stores that are coming up now. We just got a Earthborn store a mile from my house. I'm so excited. I've never heard of it before, but it's an entire organic grocery store and they have a deli in it. It's amazing. It's like way better than Whole Foods, because Whole Foods, 80% of the food in there isn't organic anymore.
No,
it's all conventional.
It's all gone down.
Yeah. So we are really excited that the people are speaking and companies are answering. There's more organic foods out there now than have ever been available online, in stores. We need to start doing it in restaurants. We need to go in and demand that they use healthy oils. Do not allow anybody to cook your food in canola oil or vegetable oil. Ask the restaurant. You ask that waitress, what are you cooking in oils? And if it says canola oil, don't buy it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do not buy it.
Yeah.
And when you walk out of that restaurant because they don't have anything healthy for you to eat, they're going to start seeing more and more people leave their stores and not come in. They're going to start offering that on their menu, but it's going to take us demanding it by spending our dollars where our health is.
And believe it or not, you'd be better off to eat Dr. Marlene Siegel's pet food. Okay?
Yes.
All right?
Yes, you would. It's clean.
So, and here's the deal, everybody. So did you hear what she said about big box stores? So I need you to think outside the box, and I need you to hook your wagon up to her. So how can they get in touch with you? How can they find out more about your food?
Well, pascovet.com is our website.
Okay.
And my team will have our Evolve website up where it's going to be the umbrella for everything. And we'll have the links to the online food where they can buy, the links to be able to buy their RX pet fuel and their supplements, and where they can even get a quest run by us so we can do the bioenergetic scanning for their pets.
Okay.
We are now seeing animals coming in from all over the United States and Canada. They're driving in because I cannot treat an animal unless I have established that client-patient relationship. I'm doing a lot of coaching sessions where on the phone, I give them the basic principles. We can certainly do that. But for me to treat your animal, I do need to have my hands physically on them and establish that client-patient relationship. But I'm going to be in Toronto in a couple of weeks. We're going to be at the Total Health, and I'm doing 2 workshops there, which are going to be beyond amazing. And our pet owners are going to be able to experience a lot of the modalities that we do for our pets in the healing realms. They're going to be able to experience it for themselves. So if you are near Toronto or you want to take a trip to Toronto and experience these workshops, they are going to be incredible. And I'm going to try to make it to yours too.
And Dr. Marlene Siegel, and don't forget, did you send in your 2-3 minute video about your lectures to Total Health? Because they're waiting for them.
They didn't ask me for that, but I gave them the outlines.
No, but well, you can do it on a phone if you want. But if you can put something together,
I will do that.
Okay.
I will do it tonight.
There you go. And I want to thank everybody for joining us and making the show possible, because, well, that means there's lots of people watching it, and we know that. And this is one of our top shows, so spread the word. If you want a healthy pet, if you want a happier life, then you know that you've got to check us out here on Doc of Detox with Dr. Marlene Siegel.
And we can connect on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're going to get our Instagram really going. And of course, our website and our Evolve website will be up very shortly.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Dr. Marlene Siegel. As always, you are a joy. And I want to thank everybody and all our listeners for joining us. Have the best day of your life. And just so you know, next week we will be having what's called The Truth About Calcium. And it's a product that we carry, and it's the only calcium product that is healthy for humans. And it does a lot more than that. God bless and have a beautiful day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Much love. Mwah.